Hello, everybody. So strategy MSTR is down 6.99% today, and that's what I'm going to address in this video. It's down after Wednesday, which also wasn't a great day for MSTR. But you know, I think this is the dumbest market crash. What's going on right now is just an issue with the pricing of fiat and with the money supply and the market, Mr. Market being Mr. Market. And the truth is, we can't predict when an asset like MSTR is going to pop. We can't predict that. I wanted to take this pause a second to show you this former video of mine. I mean, this video like 5 or 6 months ago, April 9, 2025. We had a day in April 9, 2025, after the tariff tantrums, after the market just puked every single stock out there. We had a comeback, and MSTR jumped 25% that day. In a single day, it jumped 25%. And it was after also quite a few months of madness for the stock. If you remember, early 2025, we peaked in late 24, and then we had valley of despair after valley of despair, and bottomed in April, and then boom, you had a bounce 25% in a day. The derivatives of MSTR, like the options or MSTX, for example, they were up 50% in one day. That's what we had. That's what this beast is capable of. That's what this asset is capable of. That's why, this valley of despair that we've been going on for months on MSTR is like a coiled spring. At one point, it will pop. Now, I don't know when that's going to be, but when it's going to pop again, I want to be in the stock. I want to be in this stock. This is a long-term position. This is an equity position. There is no expiration date to an equity. An equity is not like option. There is no decay to an equity, right? An equity is not like MSTX or MSTU, where you have a bunch of decay, and if you own MSTU or MSTX, more than 8 or 10 months, the decay is gonna take off. It's going to wear off the entire performance, such that MSTX over time, over a 1 year period, is worse than MSTR. MSTR being the pure play, the common. So anyways, I don't know where I went into this tangent. There will be a day where MSTR is going to pop again. We just can't know when it is. And the price action of MSTR, if you look at it, most days, it's meaningless. Most days it becomes meaningless. You have to be in the stock the day it pops the most. We've had months of kind of relentless decline. Most days a little bit of a drop, a little bit of a drop, a little bit of a drop. Some days like today, bigger drops, right? But one single trading day or just a few trading days could erase months of pain. Months of pain could be erased by a day like April 9, 2025, which is not the day we got. So I have no idea who's capitulating today. I have no idea who's selling today. But that's insane, and that's frankly dumb, because as far as I'm concerned, nothing has changed in strategy. The company is the same as far as I'm concerned. So anyways, let's talk about the stock today. So the stock today was down 6.99%. It actually behaved consistently with what it's supposed to do today. Because today, same trading hours, right? IBIT was down 3.6%. So not quite a 2x, but between 1.5 and 2x. Today's price action was consistent with the drop in the price of Bitcoin. Yesterday's price action was disappointing, because yesterday Bitcoin was up 1.5% and strategy was down something like 1.5% or 2%. So anyways, mNAV keeps compressing, but of course MSTR is going to dump 7% on a day that Bitcoin dumps 3.6%. That's consistent right there. Bitcoin's price action has been disappointing, to say the least. We are below 110. Make note of all of the accounts on X who are telling you we'll never see below 110 again. I'm not one of those accounts. I don't know where Bitcoin is headed, but I know that the performance of Bitcoin has been disappointing, especially in the later half of September, with October coming up. A lot of people are definitely upset about the performance of Bitcoin. And in my view, the big pop in MSTR, we will get that big pop when we get the big pop on Bitcoin. We need a new all-time high on Bitcoin in order to bring back excitement to this market, excitement to this marketplace. So let me move on. Why is everything dropping today? And by everything, I mean every hyper-growth stock. I know the Nasdaq's not moving much, but the Nasdaq is, the entire market. On this channel, we try to beat the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq barely beats monetary inflation. On this channel, we try to do 2x the Nasdaq at the very least. So the stocks that I cover on this channel are way down today. Tesla down 4.3%. So why is everything way down? Well, and a lot of my overpicks are down. Well, Mr. Market believes in surveys. Elite companies don't do that anymore. But I guess if you listen to the surveys, the job market is fine. The job market is amazing per the data. So the nonsense today, as always, is related to the cost of money, the denominator, because the 10-year is up, and the odds of rate cuts are now not heading in the right direction. People are thinking the rates are going to stay high, the rates stay high. The new money being printed is printed not as fast, and so the denominator doesn't expand as fast, and so it means risk assets dump. So it's a denominator story. It's the same story we've had for the past 5 years. The 2020s are, as I've called in a few videos before, the 2020s are an awful decade. They are not a good decade. The 2020s are nothing like the 2010s. It's not a good decade. So if it's your first decade of investing, unfortunately you're out of luck. It's not a good the 2020s. So many opportunities to get shaken out. You need to grow a very, very good psychology in order to kind of do a better job in this philosophy, this market. Okay, so over reasons why we are down as a whole, the market is you have Binance that keeps manipulating the crypto market, moving funds, selling funds on open exchanges in order to trigger liquidations of longs that are on their platforms. You also have fears of a government shutdown that are lingering, shutdown over subsidy expansion in Obamacare. So if you have a government shutdown, that might not be helpful to crypto, because a lot of people think a lot of the bills that have been worked on in crypto might be delayed, especially the one on market transparency, but also the one on reserves. And then, of course, this week is a big quarterly options expiration week and day tomorrow, right? Options expire on Friday typically, but you have people probably closing their positions already today, and so it's a big volatile week because of options, because of these Friday options. So these are the reasons why growth is not doing too well today. And I want to talk specifically about strategy, about MicroStrategy. So let's talk about MicroStrategy. Some of the deals today, and of course the one stock that I'm amazed at the price of is MSTR. So MSTR, the mNAV keeps compressing. We are at a new low. We made a new low on mNAV. We are probably below 1.38. We're probably at a 1.35 right now on Strategy Tracker. This will get updated only tonight. New low, the compression continues, but I want to point out that, of course, the mNAV that a lot of people use is enterprise value divided by the value of the Bitcoin. And I want to call your attention, is this the proper way to actually calculate mNAV? Because in the case of strategy, we know that a lot of the enterprise value will equitize. A lot of the debt embedded in that EV calculation will become equity, right? The convertible debt will become equity, and the preferreds, since they are perpetual, they're essentially like equity. It's not like they come due. So I think strategy is actually much, much, much cheaper than we think. In my view, and perhaps the view of a lot of people, calculating the mNAV for a stock like strategy is we just need to use the market cap divided by the Bitcoin NAV. You can see they have $69 billion worth of Bitcoin, and the market cap is $86 billion. And so you divide those two numbers, we may have a strategy mNAV as low as a 1.23. This is just insane. This is barely any premium over the Bitcoin bag. The market is giving no value to the MSTR put. no value to the ability of Sailor to generate that yield for us, and he has been generating the yield. The market is complete nonsense here at a 1.23, and the big question is this going to go below 1? How much lower can it go below 1? I personally don't think that's going to happen, because Sailor has voiced many times that if that happens, they will do buybacks. They will do share buybacks if that happens. Mara is a good example. Mara has never traded too much below a 1. 1 is really the floor. So that's why when I look at a stock like MSTR and I do this calculation, I tell myself, okay, worst case scenario in mNAV compression is an over 20% down. That's the worst case scenario. And of course, depending on your risk tolerance, that could be a lot for you. For me, minus 20% down is not that much. It's a long-term hold. But I think we're nearing the bottom on mNAV. I've been saying this for a few weeks now. It looks like we made a new low today on the mNAV. It's very disappointing. There's no hiding it. But focusing on the day-to-day is perhaps not a good idea. Note how also the preferred. Note how the preferred haven't really moved at all. The preferreds are working. Like if you look at this is stretch, so stretch is it dropped, and as soon as market closed back at 97.50, it's what it's been trading at for the longest time. And same for Strive dropped a teeny tiny bit and then trading back. So the common equity is under attack, right? The common equity is shorted left and right. Lots of selling pressure on the common equity. We don't see that on the preferred. The preferred, to me, they are pretty stable, and so it's entirely possible that he's been ATMing on those preferred and going to buy Bitcoin with the ATM on those preferred. We are still waiting for the market to appreciate the value of stretch and the stretch preferred. He raised the yield this month. That should have an effect on the price of stretch. Guess what? If the price of stretch doesn't get past 99, he will likely raise the yield by another 1% and force it to get to 99. So at some point that will happen too. To me, the thesis is not broken at all, but the market is just crazy. The market is irrational. It's so irrational. There's no other way to say it. A stock that I briefly want to talk about, because we can really have lessons from Tesla. Most of owning Tesla has been in a value of despair mode. Like owning Tesla, that has been one of the toughest stocks to own, and of course, it's one of the stocks that has, outperformed the most, if not the best, one of the best stocks out there. And I think it's proving that MSTR will be a stock as hard to own as Tesla. MSTR, it's very likely it will go through periods of 6 months to a year of just pure frustration until it pops again. Now Tesla right now is having its day in the sun, and it's popping again. It's had a wonderful 2 weeks. So that's why if you own Tesla and MSTR, your portfolio is probably flat. Right, it's had a wonderful few weeks, but today it was down to minus 4%. What did Tesla do to be down 4%? What does this have to do with anything? I have no idea anymore. I mean, it's just the market is crazy. The volatility is crazy. HIMS, of course, the third channel favorite. Same issue at volatility. It was down at the open 5%, and then it gained back all of the money it lost during the day, closing at plus roughly 8% delta between the low and the high of the day. So extreme volatility on this one. I guess the market thought, oh, healthcare bad, and then we realized, oh, actually healthcare good because it's cash pay or something like that. So I don't know what the market is thinking. The market is really handing us opportunities. The only question is, do you want to take advantage of opportunities or not? Strategy: Tesla, not the only stocks being impacted by this market tantrum. Of course, Metaplanet, I've covered it a few times on this channel. The nonsense continues with Metaplanet. There's no other way to say it. They are not selling shares right now. They're in a period. They're on hold. They're in a period on hold as they spend their fundraise on Bitcoin. Their US fundraise on Bitcoin. They're on hold. And the company is trading at a 0.9 mNAV, which is entirely ridiculous. So beware of Metaplanet, because I think and Strive. I don't think Strive would do that. Strive is too small of a company. Maybe they could, but not too sure. But I think MSTR. I mean, at this point, it could make sense for MSTR to just make a bid on Metaplanet and buy Metaplanet. Like that would be cheaper than buying Bitcoin. And sure enough, for MSTR, a $5 billion enterprise value, sure enough, that's what a few weeks of ATM, maybe 5 weeks of perhaps a little less right now, maybe 10 weeks of ATM. So should MSTR buy Metaplanet? That's also a question that you start asking as you see these mNAVs get below 1. And one last company that I want to briefly talk about. I can't remember if I did a deep dive on this one. I know I did one on DFDV. And of course, the caveat whenever I cover Solana is, yes, Solana is not Bitcoin, only Bitcoin is money. I'm not pretending Solana is money. Solana is a blockchain. It's a world computer where modern day Web 3.0 apps can be built. And it has a token called Solana. And Solana, that token is kind of ownership of a network. He who owns the token also owns the network and can build on the network with the Solana token. Anyways, the point is Upexi is this company. They own a bunch of Sol. It's a company that owns $400 million worth of Solana and their market cap right now. And that stock dumped a lot today. I don't have the chart in front of the page, but I think it 15% roughly is how much it dropped today. If you calculate the price to NAV for Upexi, that's a 0.77. That's like grayscale level discount at the depth of the bear. That's roughly what we had at Grayscale at the worst time. Maybe Grayscale was even a little worse than that, but still 0.77. That's a complete nonsense, and that's especially a complete nonsense when you consider that yesterday Upexi dropped their performance data and their performance metric, and the market is super rational. I mean, they posted yesterday very bullish stuff, like talking about all of their Sol holdings. So 400 million is staked, and they're earning about an 8% yield. So they are generating, $100,000 a day of quote unquote profit. They call it revenue, but it's profit. It doesn't cost that much money for them to generate that yield. It's essentially profit. So you have a company making $100,000 a day. And it's only a $311 million market cap. So even if you were to calculate a P ratio on that, it wouldn't be too high. This is a company, Upexi, contrary to MSTR, these companies, either the ETH treasury companies or the Sol treasury companies, who own these assets with a native yield function on it, they don't need to do ATM. That's the beauty of the Solana treasury companies. You don't need to do the ATM. The 8% yield is built into the asset. So yeah, again, I don't understand it. If you do a price to NAV, this is like you're earning 12% roughly. Right, that's because you're getting a much bigger bag of Sol for what you're paying, and they're earning 8% on a bigger bag than what you're paying the stock at. So to me, I find Upexi pretty darn compelling right now, even though I know that their yield may not be as high as, for example, DFDV's yield, but DFDV is a little more expensive. So the nonsense continues in the highly innovative Web3 future of finance, digital finance, Bitcoin space. The nonsense continues for MSTR and its friends. And yeah, I do say friends, and I'll conclude with this too, because, there used to be a point where if you talk about another asset like Bitcoin, you get a lot of flack. If you have looked at the last two presentations of Saylor, he's been asked specifically about other assets, and I have seen him speak actually pretty positively lately of other blockchains. And so this is also consistent with my view that at some point, I believe Saylor will be listing pairs, BTC, USDC pairs on DeFi. And at some point, he'll be able to turn on yield on Bitcoin, on crypto rails, right? Turn on a yield on Bitcoin on crypto rails. I think he'll be able to do that at some point. He's warming up. He's not criticizing the other blockchains nearly as much as he's used to. I think Sailor is turning into less of a Bitcoin maxi, more of a Bitcoin pragmatist. So anyways, hopefully that helps out. Hopefully this video lets you know where I stand on this. This was not financial advice, not investment advice. This is only entertainment on this channel. That is all it is, only entertainment. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.